me the back now? Yeah, I can hear myself. Just a show of hands, how many of you were here in the or post-lunch session, pre-tea session? So that's about 45, 46%. I was told to be precise. I was trying to be precise. So I'm going to do something that I'm doing for the 2,743rd time, which is to introduce my company to all of you. So just bear with me for about 10 minutes. But then after that, there's something that and therefore the 46% of the people who are here this afternoon, probably it is a repetition for you. But then the next 20 minutes is something that we didn't speak about in the afternoon, which is two brands that we've built over the last, one for over the last 30 years and another one for the last 15 odd years. Both brands, one would still qualify as an SME. The other has become a big brand, but when it came to us about 25, 30 years ago, it was certainly an SME. So just a little bit about us for people who are not here this morning. We have got 6 offices in India and 11 satellite offices. These are some of our key clients that we work with. Unilever, Castrol, Vodafone, Cadbury, Asian Paints, Pidlines, Fevicol, CIO&Leader, Bank of India, Economist, Kimberly-Clark, so on and so forth, Foxconn. But like I said this morning as well, and keep repeating this, very important thing is that what we're proud of is not all the clients who work with us, but the length of time that they work with us. So Cadbury, for instance, we started managing Bonvita 61 years ago. Unilever, we've been working for roughly 40 years. Fevicol for about 35, 37 years, and Vodafone for now for about 14, 15 years. And there are many, many brands like this in the company who've been with us for over 10 years. There was a big debate that happened about 5 years ago, which was about saying, do advertising agencies just create work and get creative for the sake of being creative, or is there some commercial aspect to it? Do they really do commercial art, or is it just art? As an agency, we never believed that creativity is just for creativity's sake. It has to deliver business results for clients like yourselves. And therefore, we've always built the agency and its credentials on the back of work that works. And therefore, what we call trying constantly to scale the twin peaks of creativity and effectiveness, both kind of two sides of the same coin. As an agency, we are India's most awarded agency at Cannes. We're India's most awarded creative agency in India. We've been the creative agency of the year 17 out of the last 18 years. Effectiveness awards. FEs is a global award. Its India chapter is obviously called the FEs. It's given to brands. It's given to agencies that manage brands and are able to do work where they're able to prove that they've contributed to the top line and bottom line of these brands. Work across agencies is reviewed at the end of the year, and we've been Agency of the Year for the last 4 years running. This year's awards, or 2013 awards, would be held on January 15, 2014. And if you look at the tally between us and the other agencies, we are about, like last year we were at 280 points if you added up all the gold, silvers, and bronze. The second agency was at 65, so we're 4 times more effective than the next agency. We are obviously also the leading contributors to the wins that OVB has in the Asia Pacific region. We won what's the most difficult award in effectiveness, which is the IPA, which is run out of the UK. You have to prove that you've contributed to the bottom line of the brand. We spoke in the afternoon for the people who are here in Cadbury Dairy Milk, the whole Kuch Meetha Ho Jaye campaign for the last 7 years, and how it's contributed to the brand's bottom line and top line. That's something that we won in last year, gold. That's the first ever gold that has been won in the country. All this makes OVB Mumbai, which is the office I run, the most effective agency office in the world. For 2 years running, it's an award that's given out at the Cannes Advertising Festival. So in the year 11 and 12, we were number 1. In the year 10, we were number 2. So it's kind of moving up in that sense. But I think what's most important for us is to be most valued by people like yourself, who most value brands. So there's a survey that's conducted by Economic Times and which is brand equity, excuse me, and AC Nielsen, where they go and interview marketers like yourself, asking them to rate agencies on 6 or 7 parameters: quality of account management, quality of creativity, quality of integrated communication, quality of financial management, quality of strategic planning, so on and so forth. And we've been the number one agency across all parameters for 9 years in a row. It's not, and it's extremely important for all of you here that people believe that advertising means these big budget television commercials. I spoke about in the afternoon as well, saying that in today's day and age, it's not necessarily that has to happen. And therefore, we're a full service agency, not just doing classic advertising, but also, Ogilvy One, which is India's largest digital advertising agency. There's digital there. Social media is run out of a division called Social at Ogilvy. New at Ogilvy is all the media planning and buying on digital. Geometry Global is our activation, urban and rural, and experiential marketing, and Ogilvy Public Relations, obviously PR. So it's a full service agency, and at different points in time, brands and businesses like yourself may choose not to actually go on and do the big budget television commercials, but actually use aspects of a communication mix which potentially could be used to leverage wherever your brand is at that particular time in the market and what it's trying to achieve. I'm just going to show you 4 or 5 commercials that we kind of made, and then I'll take you on to the 2 case studies.
There's something so real in everyone. There's something so real, ask anyone. It's you, it's real, and the feeling is right. There's something so real in the taste of life.
Cadbury's Dairy Milk, the real taste of life.
This was made in 1994, was voted the campaign of the millennium in the 2000 awards that were done by the Indian Advertising Club. Did very well in terms of being established as the best network in the country. I don't think it is anymore. That's another story. But I think what was most interesting is the price of the pug. The dog went up 5 times. Yeah, and they were not available. And there was so much demand for the pugs that they were kind of outsold in the country. And that was kind of an associated benefit that that industry got out of this campaign. It's something that we did last year, this year.
देखिए गाड़ी की चाबी कहाँ है? चाबी अरे यार बड़ी मुश्किल से जेनी के साथ हैकर का अपॉइंटमेंट मिला। पिछली बार किसी और ने काटा था तो याद है ना क्या हुआ था? पूरे 2 इंच काट दिए थे। इरिटेटिंग। अच्छा बताओ, इतना काटूं कि इतना?
एक मिनट ना। इतना।
तुम्हारा गला काट दूं?
देखा, पूछने में क्या जाता है। अब टाटा स्काई का दूसरा कनेक्शन ले लो। ये महीने के सिर्फ 160 रुपए में मिलता है। और पूछोगे नहीं तो जंगल अलग होगा कैसे?
It's going to, in 15 minutes, take you through 2 case studies of 2 brands that we've built over the last, like I said, one over the last 30, 35 years, one in the last 15 years. And but before I start, I just thought I'll leave you right at the beginning as you see the work, because I didn't want to bore you with, lots of slides, etc. I did that in the afternoon. I just thought in the evening I should kind of, keep it easy. Some of the key messages and some of the patterns that you should watch for when you see this work. Clearly, there is what we're beginning to call in today's day and age, what was called creativity or great idea in the past, or what's beginning to get called now contagious content. Content that just kind of begs for a reaction, content that sparks up a conversation. So creativity, ideas is still in the heart of what you're calling innovation, is the heart of building a brand. Whether it's an SME, a large brand, doesn't matter. But it's the part of the idea that will get you to where you want to get to, and it can only be limited by the extent of your own imagination. And we spoke about it in the afternoon. That's one. Secondly, there's the element of consistency. There have been many brands, many companies, many organizations who've started off, with a lot of escape velocity behind them. But after 2 years, either they've got bored, or they've kind of changed priorities. They've gotten inconsistent with the way they've built their brands, and over a period of time, we realize that it kind of starts hampering their growth and restrict. They're not able to kind of leverage their own potential to the maximum. Third thing is very, very, very important, and let's borrow from what you said in terms of strategic hinges. For an agency, for a client, for a brand, when it's communicated, apart from all the strategic hinges that you may have with regards to production and all of that, is the consumer. I think an understanding of Indian culture, understanding the Indian consumer, even as an organization leader, as a brand owner, is extremely important. The Fevicol bus commercial comes from observation, comes from just looking around you and saying, okay, what in the environment today can I connect my brand Fevicol to, so that it just is so associated with the people of this country that the brand starts enjoying an affinity and love beyond what the advertising was trying to achieve, which is just in a sense message comprehension, for instance. So creativity, consistency, consumer, culture, I think these are the big messages that I would leave you with the 2 case studies that I share with you. But the most important thing, I think as an SME, and I know it's kind of a chicken and egg situation, it's kind of ironical for me to say this, but it's really to think big. If we're going to continue thinking small, we're going to remain small. You said something along the same lines, but really, Fevicol is the first brand I'm going to talk to you about. Came to us 35, 37 years ago, and was a nobody. They were white adhesive glue. I wasn't there, of course, but the stories are legendary. Walks in a man with a can of white glue, and he says, I've called it Fevicol, and I want to make this the best glue in the country, or rather I have the best glue in the country, but I don't want people to tell me that this is the best glue in the country. I want this to become the most loved brand in this country. Because if it's the most loved brand in the country, then people will automatically buy it. I want this brand to become part of culture. That was the brief that was given to us 37 years ago. And one of the conversations that we've had with the client at that time was, listen, I mean, Fevicol is really sold to the carpenter, and it's the carpenter who is the key decision maker on what glue or adhesive he's going to pick up for the tables and chairs that you're sitting on. So, what is the need? What is the reason to even advertise this product? As long as we do, carpenter meets, we get by, we get our sales. But this, like I said in the beginning, was not about sales. It wasn't about thinking small. It wasn't about what's going to happen next 2-3 months. It was about saying, 20 years later, this brand should be the most loved brand in the country, and therefore I am not going to advertise or do stuff only for carpenters. There is lots of stuff you do for carpenters, and I'll just share that with you. But I will talk to people in this room, so that when your carpenter brings a Fevicol can to your house, you're not throwing him out saying, what shit have you got? Yeah? They say that. I mean, you can imagine if and I was saying this to somebody in the afternoon, you can imagine if your office administration guy was trying to send your important documents through some Jamnabai couriers, you would sack him. But because he comes and says, I'm sending it through FedEx or DHL, then you're comfortable. And it's pretty much the same strategy that IBM deploys. It's pretty much the same thing that we did with Fevicol. So I'm just going to share with you, it's I think 4 or 5 commercials, one of which I've already shared, so I'll skip that, it's the bus commercial. But really you started off by just fundamentally establishing the functional superiority of the brand as to what it really does in terms of performance. And then you start, once that is established, and that's another learning, once that's established, you move it to the next level and start building emotional bonds with consumers. Okay?
मानते ही नहीं। ये फेविकॉल का मजबूत जोड़ है, टूटेगा नहीं। फर्नीचर का साथी जिसकी निशानी है हाथी। फेविकॉल, फेविकॉल ऐसे जोड़ लगाए अच्छे से अच्छा न तोड़ पाए।
So this was, I think, from the late 80s to the mid 90s. That's the time people, didn't make television commercials every year. You made one and then you kind of used it for 5-6 years. Yeah, now of course you can make 3-4 sometimes. And then there came a time we said, okay, this is functional superiority has been established. Now what do we do? And I mean, they came up with this idea saying that even if there's a shadow of Fevicol that falls on somebody, there's instant stickability or bonding that happens. Yeah? And this was a commercial that we did in 1997. I was fortunate, I was a young senior account executive at that time, and I was fortunate to have worked on this campaign at that point in time. So, and it's an interesting story around it. So anyway, the story on this is, we presented the commercial to the client, and there's this habit, that's an associated message that I'll leave you behind. Don't over-research anything. Go with your intuitive gut feel, and I know all of you are entrepreneurs in this room and you usually do that, but many companies don't, yeah? So, some strange reason, we were not getting a response back from the client for 2 weeks. We waited 2 weeks, we waited the 3rd week, and then I kind of picked up the phone on the client and said, what is happening to that egg commercial? Everybody loved it when we presented it. What's wrong now? They said, we're researching it with carpenters in Gujarat. I said, why would you research it with carpenters in Gujarat? You never researched anything, and why carpenters in Gujarat? He said, no, because there's an egg in the film, and we're not sure that the Gujarati carpenter is going to be happy with the fact that you're going to keep an egg in the film. So anyway, I went to Piyush, who was the chairman then, still the chairman of the company. Many of you may know him. And I said, listen Piyush, this has happened, I don't know what to do. So he said, don't worry, when we go for the next meeting, I'll talk to Madhukar Bhai and sort it out. So next meeting, we go into the meeting and we finish everything else. And as we are leaving the room, Piyush looks at Madhukar Bhai and says, Madhukar Bhai, I believe you chickened out of the egg commercial. He said, no, we never chickened out of the egg commercial anyway. Then he eventually got mailed, which is what you're seeing here. So yeah, don't over-research anything, just kind of go with the gut, what you like. is the same. It's always set in an Indian menu. It is something that when you see the story, you can kind of relate to it. That yeah, I know this happens. It may happen to you as well. You've seen the bus for sure. Yeah. So there's a consistency even in the way it gets executed. This is what we did for the 50th year.
मैं जानूं के तू है करूं छे कर तल दूजो मैं जानूं के तू है करूं छे कर तल दूजो
I've spoken to 2 or 3 of you in the afternoon and I asked you the question, how much do you think Fevicol spends on communication in a year? So please don't answer, if you know the answer, don't answer, but in general, to the audience, how much do you think they spend in a year in advertising, in running the advertising, not in creating these commercials, but in running them on television, how much do you think they spend? But I'm assuming all of you would have seen these ads at some point in time in your life. How much do you think they spend? Sure.
5 crores. 5 crores.
Sorry?
5 crores.
Okay.
50 to 70 crores.
50 to 70 crores, wow. Okay. So 5 crores and 50 to 70 crores. 30 to 40 crores, okay. They spent 6 crores. So set 5 is pretty close. But the feel that's left behind is 50 to 70, 15. Vodafone spends about, I think, in about hundreds of crores. Can't give you the exact number. But I think both brands will be equally memorable for consumers. So it's again going back to the power of creativity, the power of the idea, the power of consistency, the power of understanding your consumer and the culture and the setting within which your brand is operating. Yeah. We've done other stuff, so it's not just advertising. Like I said, there's a Fevicol Champions Club that's run. There's a Shramdam. It's actually happening today. It happens every December 20th, where Fevicol registered carpenters actually go to schools, colleges, in villages, etc., and build benches, tables, etc. for them. All obviously sponsored by Fevicol. This happens every year on the 20th of December. So as we speak, it should have gotten over today actually. Yeah, and then there's a furniture book that's sent out, which are designs inspired by either carpenters or someone else, but made by Fevicol or made using Fevicol by the Fevicol carpenters, put into a book, and you could potentially ask for these designs. Yeah. And if you look at their sales between 92 to 96, the category was growing at 10%, they were growing at 55. Between 98 and 03, category was 8, they were growing double. Between 3 and 12, they were growing at 9, the category was growing about 8%. Yeah. And of course, it's mentions in popular culture. Everybody knows the most recent being Double 2 and the Fevicol Say song, which was created by the client and the agency. Command 75% market share despite being at a 30% premium. Yeah, so 11 crores is very, very profitable. The other brand is Amaron. Again, same principles. I'm just going to run you through the work. Again, had to establish functional superiority to begin with. Once that's set, once people believe that your brand is an authentic, credible, performing brand, then you take it to the next level and start building emotional bonds for the brand. However, without losing out on what is the key message that you want to build consistently over a period of time.
This is a chicken leg. silver foil, and that is sulfuric acid. This is the same reaction that happens inside your car battery. Ordinary batteries can't take it. But Amaron has silver inside. Amaron High Life batteries last long, really long.
So this was in 98, and in 2013 we're still on the proposition.
This is the same reaction that happens.
Still on the proposition of it being the longest lasting battery because it's got silver inside. We started with the product demonstration to establish functional superiority, but then have gone on to do 2 more kinds of commercials. I'll show you. That pretty much ended. There's a spell error there in the slate.
Two yuppies in middle management race, one with brains, one with face. Tortoise car was on finance money, Rabbit brought Papa's Lamborghini. He drove on 120 car speed, was in the lead, so what dog for charge? Lamborghini refused to start. Ram jaane why? Tortoise came first with these, told secretary and all colleagues. His car was right, battery was wrong. My Amaron lasts long, very long. Bolo, long, very long, lasts long, very long. Tang, ding, tang, ding, tang, ding.
This is the first brand that ever used animation in this country to do advertising. We've seen it in movies. No brand has ever done that. So stood out again. This is the one we did 1 year ago.
He rides like a breeze through coconut trees. Ladies, please, you go weak in the knees. Killer. Yeah, he rides like a breeze.
देखा एमरॉन नहीं तो लॉन्ग लाइफ नहीं, क्योंकि सिर्फ एमरॉन में सिल्वर जो देता है इसे लॉन्ग लाइफ. एमरॉन सिल्वर टिंग, सिल्वर टाउन.
Yeah, we've created a retail experience for them. So we managed to build their retail ground up, which is the Amaron Pit Stop. So it's not just advertising, like I said, it's the entire 360 experience that you give as a brand. And it is, behind Excite, the second biggest brand in the country. One last thing which is common across these 2 brands, all the work that they've done, and all the other SME brands that we work with, one common trait that seems to come through to us, as people who admire entrepreneurs who are building things from almost nothing. One of the things that really stands out for us is their courage and their conviction to do new things, to go after and invest behind stuff that nobody has ever done before. And I think, I'm sorry to say this, but the bigger multinational companies, like you said, in your speech, have kind of lost the ability to do something like that. So the last message, if at all, that I would like to leave behind for all of you is just courage. I mean, keep the courage that you're doing, and everything else that you do has a lot of courage. So now, I think it's time, like you said, to move out of the small and medium enterprise league and become the top 100 largest companies in India. And we are happy to help. I'm using a Vodafone line, but I have to plug all my brands always. Thank you very much.